Good afternoon. I'm Kim Andrews, Unity Spiritual Center spiritual leader. It is Wednesday, March 4th, 2020, and this is our Wednesday Reboot. This past Sunday, I talked about stories. We all have stories throughout our lives that form the chapters of our lives. And there are some stories we tell on a repeated basis that don't serve us anymore. We use those stories sometimes as excuses for playing small and not stepping fully into our divinity. There are other stories, I believe, that are within us that we do need to tell at some point for our own growth and personal development, and so that we can move forward in our lives to a higher level of expression. So the last 3 days I've thought about this and how we might be able to identify those stories. I think the stories that we need to stop telling, at least this has been true for my life, are the stories that you tell repeatedly. You hear yourself telling them anytime you're within a group of people who may be making excuses themselves, perhaps talking about our woes from our lives over the years, things that have happened to us, and I think we all have stories that we repeat over and over again that we just need to stop telling. The story that I told over and over again was when I was in high school, and I forget what class it was. I believe it was a math class, and I was the only one who got a 98. In fact, I was the only one who scored over, I think, 70 or 75 points. So I went running home. The teacher brought me up front and talked about how well I did and things like that. I was so proud, and I ran home, told my dad about it. And the only thing he said was, "What happened to the other 2 points? If you get 98, you could have gotten 100. So for many years, I used that as an excuse to run from excellence. I used it as an excuse to play small. I certainly did. And I knew that I was obsessed with perfection over my younger years, probably into my 30s. So when I got to the point that I got tired of hearing myself tell that story over and over and over again to different people in different areas of my life, I decided to reframe that story. And I started affirming that I make progress. I don't aim for perfection. And that started to serve me like nothing else ever did, because I used that story to stop me from taking advantage of many opportunities in my life. And I held myself back because of that. So when I reframed it and I started focusing on progress instead of perfection, my life changed dramatically. So that's one example of stories that we need to stop telling to ourselves and to other people. Other stories that I believe that we should tell are the stories that just don't come out, that we hold deep inside of us. And we need to tell those stories so that we can grow from them, so that we can process them, so that we can find the silver lining, the gold nugget out of that story. And those are the stories that are important to tell. And if we tell them, and we tell them more than once, we tell them because we are still processing them ourselves, or we are telling them so that we can give a gift to someone else and they can perhaps shorten their learning curve with a particular issue in their lives. So in that case, telling a story is a gift to yourself and to someone else. Two very different things. What I said on Sunday was, and I'll repeat it here, is that use your inner wisdom. We're talking about wisdom these next couple of weeks, to let you know what stories you need to stop telling and what stories you do need to tell and to share, whether they're to trusted friends or to perhaps people you don't know well, but you've run into and you've had some synchronicity in your meeting. And you know that it's time to share that story with that particular person, both for your growth and for their possible growth. Listen to your stories. Pay attention to what's within you and what may need to be shared in this world. Check in with your wisdom. Check in with your intuition. We all know the ones we need to stop. And I think we all also know the stories that we do need to tell and share. Thank you very much. Check out our message from this past Sunday. That was March 1st. You can find it on our Facebook page at Unity Saxy. And I appreciate you joining me for this Wednesday reboot. Have a great evening.